What happens when one of the world's biggest superstars sits down for what should have been a routine morning show interview, only to discover that the host across from her came prepared not with curiosity, but with sharp edges and a personal grudge? Today, we're diving deep into the explosive moment when Jennifer Lopez stood up, removed her mic, and walked straight off the view after Joy Behar pushed her far beyond the line of professionalism. This wasn't just another celebrity interview gone wrong. No, this was something far more volatile. A lesson in how unresolved biases and personal resentment can derail a live television broadcast in mere minutes. More importantly, it was a stunning example of what happens when a seasoned host decides to challenge a guest not with questions, but with hostility. Before we dive into this incredible story, be sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me which talk show host you think crosses the line most often. You might just see your answer featured in the next video. The calm before the fire, the morning began like any other inside the buzzing halls of the View studio in New York City. Crew members rushed between camera stations, stage assistants made last-second adjustments, and producers double-checked the teleprompters as the audience filtered in. The studio atmosphere was energetic but familiar. Nothing out of the ordinary, at least on the surface. Meanwhile, Jennifer Lopez had arrived early as always, a picture of calm professionalism. She was dressed in an elegant cream-colored ensemble that managed to look both effortlessly glamorous and perfectly appropriate for daytime TV. Her publicist trailed close behind, clipboard in hand, ready to keep the schedule flowing smoothly. Jennifer had done hundreds of interviews just like this one, and today's appearance was supposed to be straightforward. She was there to promote her newest project, a heartfelt film centered on family, resilience, and the generational ties that shape who we become. Early reviews had been glowing, calling it one of her most grounded and emotionally resonant performances in years. There was absolutely no reason to expect anything other than a thoughtful conversation and a warm welcome. After all, Jennifer Lopez had been a guest on The View multiple times over the years, and each appearance had been cordial, even uplifting. A tension begins to build. The makeup artist had just finished applying the final touches when Jennifer heard the familiar voices of the hosts warming up the audience from behind the curtain. Their laughter, their quick banter, their practiced timing, everything sounded perfectly normal. But there was a subtle, almost imperceptible shift in the energy of the room. Even Jennifer felt it, though she couldn't quite place why. Her publicist whispered, "You'll be on in 30 seconds. They'll start with the film questions." Jennifer nodded, exhaling softly. She didn't know that the script, at least for one host, was about to be thrown out the window. The stage manager held up 3 fingers, then 2, then 1, and the doors opened. "Ladies and gentlemen," Whoopi announced with her signature gravitas, "please welcome the incredibly talented Jennifer Lopez." The audience erupted into applause, cheering loudly as Jennifer stepped onto the set with her trademark radiant smile. She waved, blew a kiss, and settled gracefully into her seat. But the moment she sat down, she noticed Joy Behar staring at her, not with the usual welcoming grin, but with a tightly controlled expression that almost looked irritated. Jennifer brushed it off. Maybe she was reading too much into it. Maybe it was nothing, if only that had been true. The interview starts smoothly. For a moment, the first few minutes went exactly as expected. Whoopi asked about the inspiration behind the film. Sunny complimented her emotional performance. Even Sarah chimed in with praise about how beautifully Jennifer portrayed the complexity of motherhood. But Joy stayed unusually quiet. She watched Jennifer the way someone studies a puzzle they've already decided they dislike. There was a tension in her shoulders, a stiffness in her posture that the camera focused mainly on the guest, just barely missed. Jennifer answered questions with her usual poise, slipping effortlessly between humor and heartfelt reflection. Everything seemed fine. Then, like a sudden drop in barometric pressure before a storm, the mood shifted. Joy Behar takes over the segment. Joy leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table. "So, Jennifer," she began, her tone deceptively casual, "you've had quite the year, haven't you?" Jennifer smiled politely. "It's been busy, yes. Busy is one word," Joy continued. "Drama-filled might be another." The audience gave a nervous ripple of laughter. Jennifer blinked, unsure where this was going. I thought we were here to talk about the film, she replied, still smiling. Joy shrugged. We'll get to that, but I think people are more interested in the real story. Your personal life, the headlines, the rumors. The room went cold. Whoopi visibly tensed, glancing at the producers offstage. Sarah shifted uncomfortably. Sunny opened her mouth as if to intervene, then hesitated. Jennifer's smile faded only slightly, but the shift was enough to signal that the line had been crossed. I'm here to talk about the work, she said, still calm, still composed. Joy pushed further. Oh, come on. You know how this works. You can't expect to just show up and pretend none of that exists. Don't you think the public deserves some honesty? And that's right, there was the moment the interview stopped being an interview and became an interrogation. Whoopi Goldberg's voice carried across the studio with her familiar mix of warmth and authority as she announced, "Please welcome Jennifer Lopez." The audience reacted instantly. Applause thundered through the room, cheers erupting from every corner as Jennifer stepped onto the set. Despite the early hour, her smile was bright and effortless, a practiced radiance built from years of red carpets, premieres, and morning show appearances. For that moment, everything felt picture perfect. "Jennifer, welcome back to The View," Whoopi said warmly once the applause softened. "We are so excited to have you here to talk about your new film. Thank you so much for having me." Jennifer replied, settling into her seat with the polished ease of a performer who had navigated thousands of interviews. "I'm thrilled to be here." Sarah Haynes, Sunny Hostin, and Alyssa Farah Griffin each added their greetings, all of them genuinely enthusiastic. The energy around the table felt bright and inviting, at least from 4 of the hosts, but as Jennifer's gaze casually drifted across the panel, she noticed Joy Behar at the far end of the table, arms crossed tightly, her expression unmistakably cold. It wasn't the neutral expression of someone quietly observing. It was a locked, stiff, jawed stare that radiated disapproval before the first question had even been asked. Jennifer felt it immediately, a strange, unexpected heaviness in the air. Trying not to dwell on it, she turned her attention back to Whoopi. "So Jennifer," Whoopi began, "tell us about this new project. I understand it's very personal to you." Jennifer's face brightened instantly. She leaned forward with genuine excitement. "It really is, Whoopi. This film explores the complexities of family relationships, especially between mothers and daughters. I think it's something so many people can relate to, no matter their background or upbringing." The reviews have been incredible. Sarah chimed in, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. "Critics are calling it your best performance yet. That means the world to me," Jennifer said sincerely. "I've been acting for over 2 decades, and I still feel like I'm learning and evolving with every role. This one pushed me in ways I didn't expect." From the corner of her eye, Jennifer caught a glimpse of Joy shifting in her seat again. The energy coming from that end of the table was unmistakably tense. Joy had been unusually silent during the opening segment, especially for someone known for jumping into conversation with strong opinions. Jennifer couldn't help but feel that something was brewing. The film also deals with themes of perseverance. Sunny added thoughtfully, "Your character faces so many setbacks but keeps pushing forward. Did you draw from your own life when portraying that?" Jennifer nodded. "Absolutely. Anyone who's built a career in entertainment, or honestly in any field, knows what it's like to deal with rejection, criticism, and people who underestimate you. You have to believe in yourself even when others don't. That perseverance is something I deeply connect with." She didn't know it yet, but she had unintentionally opened the door for the storm waiting at the end of the table. Because right on cue, Joy Behar finally spoke. Her voice sliced through the warm, supportive atmosphere like a cold gust of wind. "Speaking of criticism," Joy said sharply, "don't you think it's time you addressed the elephant in the room, Jennifer?" The studio fell into an instant, heavy silence. Even the audience, moments earlier cheering at full volume, went dead quiet. Heads turned, eyes widened. The tension was suddenly thick enough to touch. Jennifer's smile faltered, not dramatically, but just enough that viewers could see the shift. Still, she kept her posture straight, her tone polite. "I'm sorry," she said calmly. "What elephant would that be, Joy?" Joy leaned forward, elbows on the table, a smirk forming at the corner of her mouth. "Oh, come on now, we're all adults here, and I think our viewers deserve some honesty for once." Sunny's eyes darted toward Whoopi. Sarah froze mid-breath. Alyssa stared down at her cue cards. They all felt it. This wasn't about the film. This wasn't curiosity. This was confrontation disguised as journalism. Whoopi reacted immediately, her instincts kicking into gear. "Joy," she said firmly, "maybe we should focus on Jennifer's new film. That's why she's here." But Joy wasn't listening. "No, Whoopi," she said, shaking her head with a self-satisfied finality that made the tension ramp up even further. "If Jennifer wants to sit here and talk about perseverance and honesty, then I think the audience deserves some honesty too. You can't have it both ways." The audience murmured uncomfortably. Even viewers from home could have felt the uncomfortable shift through the screen. Jennifer's expression softened, not with weakness, but with measured control. She had been in situations like this before. Not exactly like this, perhaps, but she was no stranger to confrontational interviewers or poorly disguised agenda-driven questions. Still, something about Joy's tone felt personal, almost deliberately antagonistic. Jennifer responded with a steady voice. "Joy, I'm here to talk about my work, my film, my craft. That's why I accepted this invitation." Joy folded her arms again, raising her chin as if she had been waiting for exactly that answer. "And I'm here," she said sharply, "to ask the questions that everyone else is too afraid to ask." A few audience members gasped. Others leaned forward, sensing an oncoming collision. Whoopi stepped in again, visibly frustrated. "Joy, we're not doing this. Jennifer is our guest." But Joy only shook her head again. If celebrities want to come on daytime television and talk about authenticity, then they should be willing to actually be authentic. Jennifer inhaled slowly. This time her composure had a faint edge to it. "Authenticity," she repeated. "Is that what this is?" Joy smiled, not nicely, not warmly, but with a kind of hostile satisfaction. "Yes, Jennifer, it is." And the stage was set. The warmth of the opening minutes was gone. The tension was alive, and Jennifer Lopez was no longer simply a guest. She was a target. "I think this is exactly what we should be talking about," Joy insisted, her tone sharpening as she leaned forward. "Jennifer, you've built an entire career on reinventing yourself every few years. Some might say you've built a career on pretending to be something you're not." The air in the studio tightened like a pulled wire. Jennifer's posture straightened instinctively, the years of media training settling over her like armor. She kept her tone even, measured. "I'm not sure I understand what you're getting at, Joy. Could you be more specific?" "Oh, I think you understand perfectly," Joy replied, her voice dripping with condescension. The smugness in her expression made the tension spike several degrees. "Let's talk about authenticity, shall we?" Jennifer didn't move, didn't blink. She simply waited. "You started as a dancer from the Bronx," Joy continued. "Then you became a singer, then an actress, then a fashion designer, then a businesswoman. At what point," she said, raising an eyebrow, "do you stop and ask yourself who you really are?" The rest of the panel shifted uncomfortably. Sarah Haynes attempted to step in, her hands fluttering with nervous energy. "Well, I think Jennifer's versatility is one of her greatest strengths," but Joy cut her off with a dismissive wave. "Versatility? Is that what we're calling it now? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks more like a calculated attempt to stay relevant at any cost." A heavy silence dropped over the room. Jennifer inhaled slowly, her voice steady even as the provocation grew sharper. "Joy, I've never hidden who I am or where I come from. I'm proud of my journey, and I'm proud that I've been able to explore different creative outlets over the years." "Different creative outlets?" Joy repeated in a mocking tone. "Is that what you call dating a string of high-profile men to keep your name in the headlines?" The audience gasped, an involuntary, collective sound that echoed around the studio. Sunny's hand flew to her mouth. Whoopi's eyes widened in disbelief. "Joy," Whoopi said firmly, "that's completely inappropriate." Jennifer's hands tightened around the arms of her chair, but her voice remained controlled. "Excuse me, I think you're crossing a line here." "Am I?" Joy shot back instantly. "Because it seems to me that every time your career hits a rough patch, you conveniently end up in a very public relationship with someone who can boost your profile. Ben Affleck, Alex Rodriguez, and now Ben again. It's almost like a pattern, don't you think?" The temperature in the room dropped again. Even the audience seemed to stop breathing. Jennifer's jaw tightened, but she never broke eye contact. "My personal relationships are exactly that, personal, and I don't appreciate you reducing them to career moves. Oh, please." Joy scoffed, rolling her eyes. This is Hollywood we're talking about. Everything is a career move. The real question is whether you're honest about it, or whether you want to pretend it's all about love and fairy tales. Sunny tried again, voice soft but urgent. Joy, I really think we should move on. But Joy wasn't having it. Her eyes were locked on Jennifer now, predatory and unwavering. No, Sunny, I think our viewers deserve some truth for once instead of the usual polished publicity nonsense. Jennifer's expression shifted, just slightly. A flicker of hurt, mixed with disbelief, crossed her features, but she straightened her shoulders and answered with quiet strength. You know what, Joy? I've worked hard my entire life. I've taken chances, built businesses, created art, raised a family, and stayed true to who I am. Reinvention isn't something fake, it's growth. And if you can't understand that, maybe that says more about your limitations than mine. The audience murmured, some applauding softly, but Joy wasn't finished. She leaned forward again, her voice low and cutting. Growth is one thing, but pretending to be whatever sells at the moment is another. And I think people are tired of being sold a fantasy. Jennifer's eyes narrowed just slightly, controlled, powerful. What people are tired of, Joy, is women being torn down for succeeding. Men reinvent themselves all the time, but when a woman does it, suddenly she's fake, desperate, calculated. That's not honesty. That's sexism dressed up as critique. Joy opened her mouth to speak, but Jennifer didn't give her the chance, and as for my relationships, she continued, her tone even but edged with steel, I've loved deeply, publicly, and honestly. If you want to twist that into a tabloid headline, that's your choice. It doesn't make it true. For the first time, Joy faltered, just for a heartbeat, something in Jennifer's composure, her confidence, her refusal to shrink, threw her off balance, but Joy recovered quickly, her voice rising. Oh, don't play the sexism card, Jennifer. This isn't about that. This is about transparency, authenticity, something I'm not sure you've ever given the public. Joy, Whoopi said sharply enough, but Joy talked over her. No, I'm tired of the polished image. I'm tired of the fairy tale narratives. I'm tired of people pretending to be something they're not just to stay in the spotlight. Why don't you tell the audience who the real Jennifer Lopez is, if even you know? Jennifer exhaled slowly, her expression now unreadable, a mix of professional restraint and simmering hurt. The real Jennifer Lopez, she said quietly but firmly, is someone who has nothing to prove to you. The audience erupted in applause, loud, supportive, emotional. Joy clenched her jaw. Jennifer rose slightly in her seat, as if deciding whether to end the interview right then and there. And the moment held, tense, electric, seconds away from exploding. Joy didn't let up for even a second. Let's talk about your music career, Jennifer, she said, leaning back in her chair with a pointed smirk, as if she'd been waiting for this very moment. Tell me, how many writers does it take to make a Jennifer Lopez song these days? The audience murmured uneasily. Jennifer's composure, which had been remarkably steady throughout the earlier confrontations, began to show the slightest fracture. Her jaw tensed, her shoulders rose almost imperceptibly, and when she finally spoke, her voice carried a sharper edge than before. I've always been collaborative in my approach to music, Jennifer replied, choosing her words with deliberate calm. That's how the industry works. Music is a team effort, collaborative. Joy repeated with an exaggerated nod and a laugh that held no humor. That's a nice way of saying you don't actually write your own songs. Tell me something. Do you even sing on your own records anymore? Or is that all studio magic too? Her words hit the studio like a grenade. The silence that followed was heavy enough to feel physical. Even the cameras seemed to zoom in closer, sensing the magnitude of the moment. Jennifer's eyes flashed with unmistakable anger, but she inhaled slowly, steadying herself. Joy, she said, voice carefully controlled, I've been recording music for over 20 years. My track record speaks for itself. Joy shrugged, unbothered. Does it, though? She pressed. Because I've heard some interesting stories from people in the industry. Stories about vocal coaches working overtime. Stories about pitch correction being used so heavily that the engineers joke about it. But I'm sure you've heard all that before. Sarah and Sunny exchanged horrified glances. Alyssa's eyes widened as if she couldn't believe the conversation had gone so far off the rails. Finally, Alyssa spoke, her voice tight with discomfort. Joy, this is really uncalled for. Joy turned her head sharply to face her. Is it, Alyssa? Really? We're journalists, aren't we? Or are we just here to ask celebrities about their favorite smoothies and let them sell us their latest projects without a single real question? Jennifer leaned forward, her poise thinning under the relentless barrage. Joy, she said firmly, if you have specific questions about my work, I'm happy to answer them. But personal attacks aren't journalism. They're just mean-spirited. Personal attacks? Joy let out a harsh, incredulous laugh. Jennifer, you've made a fortune selling yourself as this authentic, relatable girl from the block. But let's be honest about what you really are. You're not a girl from the block anymore. You're a brand, a carefully constructed focus group-tested brand. Jennifer's patience finally snapped. She sat up straighter, her expression no longer softening itself for the cameras. That's enough, she said, her voice firm, unshakable. I came here to talk about my film, not to be ambushed. Ambushed? Joy shot back instantly, her voice rising with each word. This is a talk show, Jennifer. We talk about things here, real things, not just the sanitized version your publicist wants us to hear. Whoopi leaned forward, visibly frustrated and trying desperately to regain control of her own show. Joy, I really think we need to steer this conversation back to Jennifer's project. But Joy was too far gone, running on pure adrenaline and self-righteous indignation. Her voice grew louder, sharper, fueled by the tension in the room. No, Whoopi, I'm tired of these puff-piece interviews. I'm tired of pretending everything these celebrities do is groundbreaking and flawless. Let's talk about her business ventures for a change. Jennifer blinked, stunned at how many angles Joy seemed determined to attack from. Joy pressed on, relentless. How many of your companies have actually been successful without your celebrity name attached to them? How many would survive if you weren't Jennifer Lopez? The studio air felt electric, charged with discomfort and disbelief. Several audience members shifted in their seats. A few gasps could be heard. A couple of people even murmured disapprovingly at Joy's tone. Jennifer's eyes narrowed, the calm mask slipping just enough to reveal the exhaustion beneath. My businesses are successful because I work hard, she said, each word measured with icy precision, and I'm involved in every single decision. I don't just slap my name on things, I build them. Joy scoffed openly. Oh, please, you expect us to believe that? You're juggling acting, music, endorsements, fashion, perfumes, production. Are we really supposed to believe you're deeply hands-on with all of it? Jennifer answered before Joy could continue. Yes, she stated sharply, because I don't take opportunities for granted. I've worked my entire life for everything I have. But Joy wasn't done, not even close. She leaned forward, eyes glinting with a harsh, unmistakable satisfaction. And yet, somehow, every time your career hits a downswing suddenly, miraculously, you're in a new high-profile relationship. Isn't that convenient? This time the reaction was immediate. The audience gasped loudly. Whoopi's face tightened with disbelief and irritation. She looked ready to intervene by force if necessary. Jennifer's hands gripped the arms of her chair. Her voice, however, remained controlled, even as emotion threatened to break through. My personal relationships are exactly that, personal, and I don't appreciate you reducing them to career moves. Joy waved her off. Oh, please, this is Hollywood. Everything is a career move. Jennifer's expression hardened into something resolute and clearly done. No, she said quietly but firmly, that's your opinion, not my truth. The tension was now so thick it practically radiated through the screen. Even Joy seemed to pause, just briefly, as if realizing she had pushed farther than ever before. But the moment passed quickly, and she opened her mouth again, and Whoopi finally raised her hand sharply, signaling for a break. Every aspect of them, Jennifer continued, her voice cutting through the suffocating tension in the room. I am involved in every aspect of my businesses. Oh, are you? Joy challenged, her tone dripping with venom. Or do you just show up for photo ops while other people do the actual work? Because that seems to be your pattern. Take the credit for other people's talent. Take the credit for other people's labor. Smile for the cameras while teams of people carry you across the finish line. The studio fell into a silence so absolute that it felt heavy, oppressive. The audience members, who moments earlier had been cheering and clapping, were frozen in place as if afraid to even breathe. Everyone could sense that something monumental, something irreversible, was about to break. Jennifer's hands were clasped in her lap, her knuckles bone, white with restrained anger. "Joy," she began quietly, dangerously quiet. "You clearly have some personal issue with me, but don't pretend this is about journalism or serving your viewers. This is about you trying to tear me down on national television." Joy's expression shifted into one of exaggerated innocence. "Personal issue?" she repeated, tilting her head mockingly. "Oh no, Jennifer, I don't have a personal issue with you at all. What I do have an issue with is the way you have manipulated the media and the public for decades." "Manipulated?" Jennifer's voice cracked slightly with shocked disbelief. "I've worked for everything I have. I've never asked for special treatment or shortcuts." Joy let out a bitter, humorless laugh. "I never asked for shortcuts. Jennifer, your entire career has been one giant shortcut. You went from backup dancer to leading lady almost overnight. Most people spend years, honing their craft. I did spend years honing my craft." Jennifer shot back, her composure finally beginning to erode. "I worked as a dancer. I took acting classes. I studied music. Just because I caught a break doesn't mean I didn't earn it. Earned it." Joy's eyebrows shot up, her tone turning openly mocking. "Jennifer, let's talk about some of those early roles of yours. I've heard stories about casting couches and favors being exchanged." The studio erupted. Gasps tore through the audience. Alyssa covered her mouth with her hand. Sunny flinched. Whoopi slammed her palm against the table with a force that echoed through the set. "Joy, that is completely out of line." Jennifer staggered to her feet, half standing, her face flushed with rage and humiliation. How dare you imply something like that?" "I'm not implying anything," Joy said, shrugging casually, as if she hadn't just accused Jennifer Lopez of sleeping her way to the top. "I'm just saying, Holly, wood isn't always what it seems, and your rise to fame was awfully convenient." "Convenient?" Jennifer repeated, standing fully now, trembling. "You think it was convenient to work 18-hour days? You think it was convenient to face rejection after rejection? You think it was convenient to have people like you, constantly questioning whether I deserve my success?" Sarah reached out in an attempt to soothe her. "Jennifer, please, sit down. Joy doesn't speak for all of us." But Jennifer wasn't listening anymore. The dam had broken. "No, Sarah," she said sharply. "I think Joy has made herself perfectly clear. She thinks I'm a fraud. She thinks I'm a manipulator. And apparently," Jennifer's voice cracked, "she thinks I slept my way to the top." Joy crossed her arms, unbothered. "I think you're a product of a system that values image over substance, a system you benefit from, and I think it's about time someone called you out on it." "Called me out," Jennifer repeated, laughing in disbelief. "Joy, what have you ever created? What have you ever built? You sit behind this desk and tear down people who actually go out there and take risks." The barb hit its target with lethal precision. Joy's expression darkened instantly, her jaw tightening. "I've been in this business longer than you've been alive, little girl." Joy snapped. "I was interviewing presidents when you were dancing behind rappers in music videos. And what do you have to show for it?" Jennifer fired back without missing a beat. "A reputation for being cruel, for ambushing guests, for confusing nastiness with journalistic integrity. You hide behind the word journalism while you indulge your personal vendettas. That did it." Joy rose from her seat too, her chair scraping across the studio floor with a harsh, grating sound. She pointed a finger across the table, her voice shaking with rage. "Personal vendetta." The tension in the studio was explosive now, like a spark waiting to ignite a fire. "What would I even have a personal vendetta against you for, Jennifer? You think you're that important?" Jennifer stepped closer, eyes blazing. "You think attacking me makes you brave? No, Joy. It makes you bitter." The audience collectively sucked in a breath. For a moment no one moved, not the hosts, not the camera crew, not even Whoopi. Two women stood across from each other, both furious, both humiliated, both refusing to back down, and the entire room waited, breathless, to see which one of them would shatter first.